This is Times Radio.
21 minutes past 1. Now, the head of the government unit pursuing freeholders and developers who failed to remove Grenfell-style cladding has left the job amid claims he was forced out by senior Whitehall officials. This is Graham Cundy. He was appointed by Michael Gove 2 years ago to lead a team of officials in charge of tracing the owners of high-rise buildings who failed to accept responsibility for rectifying dangerous buildings. Well, campaigners estimate that up to 1 million people could still be living in flats that need to be investigated over potential combustible material. My next guest is one of them. This is Liam Spender, who's a campaigner with the End Our Cladding Scandal group, who currently lives in a building 14 metres high, which he bought in 2019. A year after purchase, he found that it had cladding. Liam, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Just talk us through your experience. You purchased the flat in 2019. Then what happens?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So I bought in April 2019, and the following July, as the first COVID lockdown came up, we were told that a type of cladding called high pressure laminate, HPL, which is different to the ACM on Grenfell, but still regarded as dangerous, was on the outside of our building, and we'd be expected to pay to have it taken off and replaced, and it went from there.
So what happens next? You're given presumably an estimate of a price tag. How much is this all going to cost?
No, we've never been given a figure, but given that the cladding's at the top of the building, it would have needed scaffolding and all sorts of other things, so it would have been very expensive, probably thousands, if not tens of thousands each. But we were never told how much we'd be expected to pay.
So how did that process not happen?
Fundamentally, these buildings are under the control of private freeholders and managing agents, and they're not very well managed. So they the freeholders and the managing agents have all of the power and none of the responsibility. So it's quite common not to be told what your money is needed for or how much things will cost.
So when you push for those answers, what kind of responses do you get?
In my case, when I wrote and said, well, this can't be right because you should have disclosed before I bought it that there was a problem. It turns out they did a survey in the November or December of 2018 that they didn't tell anybody about. But please explain to me on what basis I'm obliged to pay for the cladding. And I was ignored. And I think after the third or fourth chaser, I got a reply along the lines of, well, we'll be seeking dispensation from consultation. They're supposed to consult you and invite you to put your estimates in for anything that costs more than £250. But because they were planning on seeking dispensation from that process, they said, we're not going to tell you anything, and you'll just get the bill when we feel like sending it.
So the current status now is that the work hasn't started and you have no idea how much this is going to cost or when it will.
Or whether it will happen at all. I'm more fortunate than most in that I live in a building that was developed by a developer that's still in business and signed the developer remediation contract. So it's the developer's responsibility to do the works and to cover the costs. But it's just been silent since at least last year. We don't know if the works will be done at all.
Your flat is insurable, I believe, of which, that is a fortunate position. That's horrendous to say, but for some people who do have this type of material, that's proved to be really difficult. I mean, what kind of options are you looking at? Because presumably, I don't know how safe you feel when you're at home, but also how you'd feel about trying to sell it.
I think I could sell it if I needed to, but it's a question of being able to afford somewhere else, because the market for flats has the bottom has fallen out of it as a result of cladding and service charges and everything that's come out since 2017. So it is what it is, and I suppose it's the issue of the cladding and the potential danger, what would happen if there was a fire in the middle of the night, is something that's always at the the back of my mind.
You sort of sound as though you're, feeling a bit defeated by this, almost, by the sort of scale of the admin and the administration headache that this has been.
I wouldn't say defeated. I'd say annoyed at the injustice of it all, and the fact that since 2020 I've been campaigning to try and make things better. And as I say, I'm more fortunate than most, but I don't know if the various campaigns have succeeded in improving things, and that's irritating, and it's tiring. I can't say there have been no improvements at all since we started campaigning, because we got the developer contracts and there has been money put up, but the issue is it doesn't seem to be reaching the right people fast enough.
Of course. Thank you so much, Liam, for just spending a bit of time with us. Liam Spender, campaigner with End Our Cladding Scandal.